Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go with them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go a story titled, Am I Wrong for Divorcing My Ex-Wife Over Kids and Now Refusing to Be Part of Her Son's Life? And a shout out to Tom for sending me this story here. And guys, this is about a guy, he is in his mid-40s, divorced, and a while back, he and his now ex-wife, they split up because she wanted to have kids and he absolutely did not. And realizing that they weren't going to change, it was best that they part ways and she could maybe find a guy that was seeing eye to eye with that. Since then, this guy's lived his life, met a gal he's engaged to, and also his now ex-wife had a kid with some dude out of wedlock. And that guy left town. And now she's a single mom, has a young boy, and she wants this dude, her now ex-husband who's telling the story, to be a mentor, to be a father figure to this kid. It's nuts. And he, of course, doesn't want to. And everybody's coming after him about this whole thing. And that'll be a very good one to go over here, guys, about just the crazy stuff that goes out there. And how sometimes in life, you have situations arise where you realize that you're the only one that's not nuts. And you got to cut people out of your life. And you're going to see all the people that are giving him a hard time about this, saying he needs to essentially man up and take care of this kid who's not even his. I kid you not. So kick back. This is definitely a good one. So he starts off by saying, I want to start off by saying that I have zero intentions of getting back with my ex, and I'm in a very happy relationship with my now fiance. And I'm sorry this is so long. I just want to add all the context in, and I'm not in the best with words. It's okay, bro. Say what you got to say. I, a 46-year-old male, married my ex-wife, a 45-year-old female, when we were 26 and 25 respectively. At that time, we were both on the fence about having kids. I knew since college I wanted to retire early, and my dream of having financial freedom was what really made me realize that kids don't fit into the life that I wanted. I was trying to find the right time to talk about it with her, but over the next few weeks, she started dropping hints that she wanted kids. So was this conversation early in the marriage, before the marriage, or after the marriage, or way later? If she went into the marriage thinking that you were on board having a bunch of kids, that ain't cool if you're changing your mind. But if she was aware of this from the get-go, then that's different. And yeah, from what I hear, kids are very expensive. She started showing me photos of her friends' kids, commenting on our nieces and nephews, joking about her getting and being pregnant. That one freaked me out. It even bought me a book on the joys of fatherhood, and that I thought I'd find interesting. I sat her down and asked her if she wanted kids, and she admitted that over the years she had grown to want a family. We had a conversation about it, and I realized that neither of us was going to change our minds. I didn't want to keep her from what she wanted in life, so I brought up the divorce. Okay. Well, it's interesting they've been married that long, whatever that time frame was, and now that was coming up. Again, if she wanted kids early on, she should have made abundantly clear, not the old, well, he'll change his mind type of crap, Clearly he did not. And these things are irreconcilable differences. Lifestyle, you're not going to change. So there's no reason to be together. She really didn't want a divorce, and I kept trying to get me to want kids. But I stuck to what I wanted, and we ended up separating. I obviously still loved her, but that's why I wanted to divorce. We were still young, and she couldn't find someone to have the family she wants with. I didn't want her to resent me for forcing my life choices on her. Well, that's good thinking, but still it's not going to change how she feels. It's all about how she feels, as well as how others are going to look at you in the situation. This guy set himself up to be the bad guy to many people out there in the outside world. But at the end of the day, it's his fucking life. But again, they should have been abundantly clear before they got hitched about this important thing. Even after I filed for divorce, she still didn't agree with me and dragged it out as long as she could. So the divorce took almost 2 years. Yep, not surprised. I dated over the years, but never really found someone that I could see myself sharing my life with until I met my now fiance 4 years ago. Apparently my ex-wife struggled with dating as well and hasn't remarried yet. Well, that doesn't surprise me because it's going to be a lot. The older a woman gets, the more difficult it is for her to find someone to get serious with, okay? She could have been a knockout, stunning in her teens and 20s, hell, even her early 30s, but the older she gets, certainly she could find guys that want to hook up. That's not a problem if she's remotely attractive, but the relationship thing, it gets more difficult. For a guy, it's a lot easier. He could be 40s, 50s, It's not going to be a problem. I mean, obviously he needs to take care of himself too and have resources. Let's remember that one. But still, it's a lot easier for a guy who's older to get a woman to have a relationship than it is for a woman as she gets older. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just more difficult. But right here, she has a son, but the kid's dad isn't in the picture. Aha. In other words, no problem hooking up, but no dad, no husband. She recently reached out to me and asked if we could meet and catch up. I talked to my fiance about it, and she thought it'd be a great way to clear up any bad blood between us, so I agreed to meet up with her for some coffee. Smack! Why? She's your ex-wife now. There's no reason to have anything to do with her. You know, I mean, you don't wish her ill will, even though she dragged out the divorce and everything. Why are you meeting up with her? I mean, that's just stupid. That's just inviting drama. Things seemed to be going well until she brought up her son. She asked me if I was willing to be part of his life as a masculine influence. And I told her I was glad that she was able to have a kid, but that it still wasn't something I was interested in. Why does she think that this guy who didn't want to have kids, for many reasons, one being financial, suddenly wants to be a masculine influence in this boy's life who is not his son, no relation to? I mean, really, this guy has his own fucking life. Perhaps she should have been better at choosing daddies, right? But she was probably so desperate to get pregnant and have a son that she didn't care, and she chose, someone that just wanted to pork her. I'm being honest. She tried to change my mind by saying that we could be a family again. She kept trying to convince me, and I kept trying to change the subject. I admit I got frustrated because things weren't going as I hoped they would, and I told her that I was happy with my fiance's name and that I was not interested in her. She started to insult my fiance, so I left. So much for having a good way to clear out any bad blood or whatever nonsense he was justifying his coffee meet and greet with her. Oh, for goodness sake. And they're divorced. This is some other dude's child, and she wants him to first be a masculine influence, but now get back together. He didn't want that before. What makes you think he wants it now? But she's obviously in a place of desperation, and emotions are taking care of all potential decision-making, I thought what happened was crazy. When I agreed to meet with her, it never even occurred to me that she might want to get back together, considering how long it's been, and I'm not single. She kept messaging me, so I blocked her, and I don't plan on talking with her again. Yeah, good, you blocked her, but now, well, wait till we involve his family. I was talking with my sister and her husband about it, and they said that while I'm totally right for rejecting her now, that it was an a-hole move on my part to divorce her in the first place, and that I was now being an a-hole again by not being a part of her kid's life. Tell your sister and brother-in-law to shove it up their ass. It's not their fucking business. And he and his now ex, they're divorced. Irreconcilable differences. He didn't want kids. He doesn't want to pay for kids, mentor kids, influence kids. Nothing. It's not his thing. Now, I don't know if he went and asked their opinion, because if he went and asked them their opinion and they gave it to him, then, well, he brought this on himself. But it seems like they volunteered their opinions on it. They both agreed that my ex was right for wanting to work it out. Well, they're allowed to have their opinion. You're allowed to have yours. Yeah, she wanted to work it out, but no, not interested. And did they mean work it out years before or right now? They said it's my fault that her child doesn't have a father, and that if I had given having kids a chance, I would have changed my mind. These nutcases are saying it's his fault that her child, who's some other dude's child, doesn't have a father. How about the dude that partake in that child-making process? How about the guy that ran out on the kid? It's his fault. It's the mother's fault, his now ex-wife, for picking a guy that clearly wasn't exactly father material. Essentially a sperm donor. I just don't agree that kids are something that one should compromise on. I just don't see how it's possible for it not to be a bad situation for everyone involving the breeds of resentment. I don't know my ex-child at all, and I don't agree that it's my responsibility to step up just because his biological dad did not. That's not your fucking problem, dude. I feel bad for the kid. Probably a great kid, looking for a dad and all that, but it's not your job. I asked some other friends and family, and they agree with my sister, so now I'm not sure what I did was wrong or not, and I was just wrongly justifying it to myself. Bro, who are these fucking people? They're all batshit crazy. Now, actually, I know the answer to that. He apparently, you'll discover soon, guys, he lives in a very, I guess, either a very religious community, or he's involved in a church that is, divorce is an absolute no-no. So they're letting their opinions on the subject are influenced by something else, which maybe some of you guys have experienced it. But at the end of the day, this guy has to do his best for himself. Frankly, I think it's time for him to relocate. And he and his fiance, who he's about to be married to, who seems like they're both eye to eye on this subject, time for them to relocate away from this nutty town. And I like to know where this guy lives, so I don't get anywhere near this crazy town. Now that's the end of part 1. And so he's obviously wondering, am I an a-hole? In my opinion, no. I just going to go back to the fact that why wasn't it understood both ways before they got married that he doesn't want kids? You know, if he let her on thinking that, yeah, I want to have kids one day, or yeah, maybe, you know, then he's an asshole for that. But in terms of not wanting to be this kid's daddy and not wanting to get back with her, no, of course not. A couple comments, then I'm going to jump into the part 2. One guy says here, damn, people give me headaches. So it's your fault that she has no father figure in her son's life because you divorced her because he was conceived with someone else. Because you didn't want kids. That makes perfect sense if you're a moron. It sounds like she is, well, as well as your sister and her husband. Not your wife, not your kid, not your life, not your problem. You suggest that your brother-in-law fill the role as you go low contact with them and no contact with the ex. Oops, I forgot to say you're not wrong. Yeah, anyway, this brother-in-law of his who has such an opinion on the subject, okay, fine, you go be a mentor to this boy. You go take him fishing or bowling or whatever the fuck. Teach him how to chop some wood properly or something, you know? To do an oil change a tire. You go do that. Another guy says, not wrong. You did the right thing in divorcing her over having very different expectations for your lives. If you divorced her over you not wanting kids, If you divorced her over you not wanting kids, I can't understand why she would think that you'd want to be or willing to fill a fatherly type of role with the kid that she end up having someone else. Your sister and brother-in-law are nuts. Kids are not something to compromise on. They are 2 yes and 1 no situation. Amen. Now we're going to go on to his update here to see if these people have come to their senses and realize they're being a bunch of nutcases, or they doubled and tripled down on their craziness and how this guy handles this crazy situation. He says, so, some things have happened. My ex-wife somehow got a hold of my fiance's phone number. She contacted her yesterday and made false things that I cheated on her when we met up for coffee. Obviously, my fiance didn't believe her and just blocked her number. Talk about freaking nerve. Going to this guy's fiance and saying that he hooked up with her. Thank God this guy's fiance obviously is pretty level-headed to realize that she was full of crap and just wanted to sabotage things. But remember, this fiance kind of agreed with him going to meet her for coffee in the first place. This morning, my sister showed up uninvited to my fiance's house with her kids demanding to talk. We don't live together and I was not there. My fiance originally wasn't going to let them in, but my sister sat on her porch and refused to leave. That's when you get your phone out and dial the police and inform them that you have somebody on your property trespassing, refusing to leave, and you need a police cruiser to come out and take her ass out of there, as well as call him. The fucking nerve of these people, the ex-wife, the sister, where the hell does this guy live? It was cold and windy outside and the kids didn't have coats on, and since it's not the kids' fault, she ended up giving in. She put on a show for the kids and made some shows for the kids and made some coffee to prepare herself for whatever shit my sister was going to say. She shouldn't have done that, and her sister's such an asshole. Why are the kids outside in the cold and I'm jackets on? My sister started a whole spiel about how if my fiance really cared about me and not just my money, then she would do what's best for me and leave. My sister claimed that since I'll always be connected to my ex, that I'll be forever unhappy if I'm with anybody else. Oh, for God's sakes. Now again, I want to mention something that I found out piecing together. His sister is very religious, doesn't believe in divorce, and obviously is trying to do anything to sabotage this for him to go back with the ex-wife. And by the way, of course, as I've warned, there are women out there that will use a guy for his resources. But in this situation, this doesn't seem to be the case, believe it or not. And this sister has ulterior motives. Apparently, if my fiance doesn't leave me, it's proof that she's only with me for my money. And it's obvious that my ex and our child, which why the fuck it's not my kid, would actually use the money in a godly way. My fiance laughed in my sister's face and just stared at her until she left. My fiance and I are both a little confused by what she said. Number one, I am better off financially than my fiance, but not by that much. Right. 2, I am also not religious. So even if I did get back with my ex, me and my money would still be godly. He's being sarcastic. 3, we know she's crazy. But again, why did she think her plan would do anything? Because her emotions are driving her decision making. That's the problem with, by and large, women. Because they have an emotion-based CPU, operating system, whatever you want to call it, and they're a lot of times not going to think rationally. Don't get me wrong, some guys can be equally emotional, but usually women are more likely to behave that way. After my sister left, my fiance called me and told me what happened. I called my sister to tell her to A, to leave my fiance alone, and to B, that she was crazy and delusional. It is time for you to cut your sister and your brother-in-law, and anybody else for that matter, off that isn't on your team. My sister defended herself by saying that she knew what was best for me, and she was just protecting me from going through with the wedding, since my fiance was obviously taking advantage of me. And that since I was under her spell, I can't protect myself. I wouldn't put it past his sister to actually believe that there are witches out there. I'm not talking about Wicca. I'm talking about actual ones that can cast spells and all that, and she probably would believe of medieval ways of handling those types. The sister knows best for him. Yeah, Miss Sister showing up and leaving her kids out in the cold, no jackets on, doing God's work here. I again told her she was crazy and delusional, and I told her that I never wanted to hear from her again, or anybody who's siding with my ex again, and to please pass that message on. I don't think she's going to pass the message on, dude. Every time a family member or friend messages me about it, which has been 6 since this morning, I ask them what their thoughts are on the matter are, and if they side with my ex or sister, I block them. Well, there you go. I don't have anything to do with these assholes either. But, guys, there are times in life where situations will arise where you really do find out who is, has your back and who doesn't. And nothing like this type of situation to do it. But it is time for this guy to get the F out of there. Now, he, in the comment section, he responds to some comments. And I highlighted one on purpose. It really gets a little more detail about his wacko sister and where he's coming from and all that, which I'm going to read now. He says here, number 1, I believe my sister is siding with my ex for religious reasons. I think even if the roles were reversed, my sister still wouldn't side with me unless I was still in the faith and went to their church, and my ex didn't, instead of the reverse, how it is now. 2, the alleged biological dad skipped town and ghosted everyone, even his parents and siblings. My family, and hers, doesn't trust the government. And he says, in my opinion, I just think they're at least somewhat self-aware of how crazy this is, and that the courts should never side with them. They don't trust the government, so they would rather go through God and the church, which means me, the ex-husband who still lives in town, would be easier, I guess. They tried to get me to meet the kid a few times throughout the years, but I've always shut that down. 3, the kid was born before my fiance and I met, so that wouldn't be a problem. But there's no way I'm the father. We haven't been together since I filed for divorce. She tried to get me to sleep with her multiple times during the divorce process, but I declined. And the kid was born several years after that, so there's zero way it's my kid. If she tries to go to the court saying I'm the father, then I would get a test done, but until then, I'm just ignoring her. Okay, so they divorced. There's the divorce, and then there's right now, and somewhere in the middle, she hooked up with some dude who was obviously a lowlife, porked her, she got pregnant, and he left town. This is not this guy's child. 4, like I said before, if the kid was mine, cheating wouldn't be an issue. But my ex did accuse me of cheating on my fiance after I met her at the coffee shop. The only people who would believe that are the people I've stopped contacting with. I would only look into a lawyer if either her or my sister harass us again, or maybe she goes to social media. Well, be prepared for that. That could be the next thing with slander and defamation and all that shit. 5, Same to number 4, we've already told them that if they come after us again, we'll get a restraining order or something similar if they push things further. I think that's why they haven't done anything else crazy besides the passive-aggressive Facebook post about how hard it is to be a single mom during the holidays and how she wishes men were better so her Christ-like home could be completed. Isn't this the woman that made a baby out of wedlock? You want to talk about her Christ-like home? 6. I've told her that, LOL. She didn't think of it then because she never really had any situation like that and didn't know if it warranted that. I told her, yes, trespassing is illegal. For now, we're just trying to ignore them while also keeping an eye on them to make sure they don't catch us by surprise. We moved up our wedding date and are looking at houses in California so we can be out of the area sooner. Well, I'm all for you getting out of the area ASAP, but going to California, maybe you might want to rethink that one. It's been nice not having to deal with my family constantly now that most of them are blocked, and all the support here, while unexpected, has been a relief. I was questioning my mental sanity for a while. Thank you very much. Well, it's good to hear for once Reddit was actually helping this dude out, and that's what some people really need, but also the Reddit brigade can be, well, you all know. But anyhow, dude, you may never see this, but I wish you well. You're not the a-hole. I still question, prior to getting married, that conversation about kids. Was she fully aware that you didn't want kids? And did you lead her on? Because if you let her on, then you definitely play part in some of this. Then you should never have gotten married. But if you made it clear from the get-go, or then that's different. But your ex is obviously desperate and all that, and I'm sure that kid's a good kid. But again, your brother-in-law, if he's giving you shit about this, he can go take the kid fishing, or teach him to change a tire, or go to the fucking movies and see Deadpool and Wolverine or whatever. But although the kid's probably too young for that. But anyhow, it's not your problem. So the sooner you get out of there, the better. Maybe you want to rethink California. But anyhow, no, you're not crazy. And I hope you and your fiance have a good life together. I'm glad she's not getting affected by this bullshit. But anyhow, there you go, guys, about the wackos out there. And this is why I named this channel They Did What, because, well, when it comes to human beings, you can always count on drama and bullshit. Alright guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.